to the 15 minutes to go, that might have been a bit premature, because that BMW is capable of lapping very, very quickly indeed. And we might yet have certainly a battle for the minor places on the podium, if not for the overall win.
Yeah, he's not going to claw back 14 seconds, I think, in, less than 10 laps to go now, I don't think. But you're right, I'm surprised it didn't fall back to at least 4th place in the class. And last time around, a very quick lap there from Dirk Brenner, 118.9. The race leader in GT, Jan Magnussen, 119.2. And Jaime Mello in 2nd place in the Ferrari, a 119.0.
In GTC, Gian von Moltke is leading by just a second from Brian Wong. That's been a great battle all day in GTC. Spencer Pumpelly's another 5 seconds down the road. Damien Faulkner all of a sudden dropped back to 4th position. I haven't seen him have a...
Spencer's flying, that's why.
Yeah, well, he's wound up after being thumped in the rear bumper, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he's absolutely turning laps. Last time around, he was a second and a half quicker than Dion von Moltke, and Von Moltke in that number 68 car. He only made the pass for lead a couple of laps ago, I think, over Brian Wong. So Brian hanging on there. Spencer's about now, maybe 5 seconds behind Brian Wong, 3rd.
Up to that part of the circuit, you can let the racetrack slow you down, so you brake very, very late before the first part of that corner. And look at these great pictures from the BMW aerial camera as the BMW is inching, just getting a little bit close. He's maybe half the distance, but how frustrating is that, Jeremy? You've done plenty of racing over here in the continent of North America. How frustrating when you know that you've got a car that ultimately over a lap would be quicker, but you just don't have quite enough advantage to make the pass.
It's not quite in the right place, but this is a tremendous battle that is unfolding us before our eyes here at Mosport International Raceway.
Through turn number 10, through turn number 1, excuse me. I've given them a whole extra lap. It just seems as though the Ferrari just can't quite keep pace with the BMW and the Porsche are ahead of them, and behind them, I'm trying to look to see where the leader in the GT is. He's well up the road. Meantime, look at this gaggle of, 7 cars in 2 or 3 different classes there. There's a prototype, there's a GTC car.
The American Le Mans Series on ESPN is brought to you by Porsche. There is no substitute. By Michelin, a better way forward. And by Tequila Patron, simply perfect.
And just off to the left-hand side is the karting circuit. That's a big lead. Chris Dyson, almost 30 seconds now, Jeremy, ahead of the rest of the field. Lucas Löhr, rather, ahead of Chris Dyson. Now, Chris has done a better lap there. He was down in the 16s for a little while. He's down into the 114s now. Maybe just traffic, or maybe he's...
Number 20 car, who is the teammate, Oryx Dyson Racing, who made Al Massoud. They made that car made its debut 2 weeks ago at Lime Rock Park, along with Stephen Kane. The car was fast.
Now, watch through turn 2. They're into it now. Well, this time, Oberlin maybe just hangs on. No, look at the Porsche just stretching away there on the exit of turn 2. But then Oberlin catches up again on the uphill portion of turn 3. Looks to me as if the BMW maybe has a tiny advantage. Welcome back to Mosport International Raceway, Bowmanville, Ontario. Beautiful, picture-perfect day. They will be thinking that down in the Extreme Speed Motorsport pit, where they've seen 4th position in the GT category, and Johannes van Overbeek end up in the gravel. He has been pulled out. Now, there was a little bit of smoke off the right front there. Have they got that right front Michelin seated properly on that hub? I just wondered if the pit opening light didn't go out in time, because he was so much further up the field and with so many cars around him. Nothing we can do to check that back, I'm not sure, but I'm sure the team will not be backward in coming forward. A couple of weeks' time is our next race to the American Le Mans Series, round 5. Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course at Lexington, Ohio. Live qualifying on ESPN3.com on Friday, and then on Saturday on ESPN3.com, of course, Rogers Sportsnet, and on Motors TV.
Hold on. We saw him involved in a little bit of argy-bargy a little while ago, and we said he'd been struggling with that car through particularly the early part of the weekend, but like I say, I spoke to him just before the start of the race, and much more confident coming into the event this afternoon. Of course, let's not forget that the GT version, as it was GT2 back in those days, that car's first win was right here at Mosport 2 years ago.
Yeah.
They've done an awful lot of development on that car since then.
In some ways, you know, that might have been a bit too early for them, that first win, and I wonder if that maybe just raised expectations. Doug Feehan, who's the project manager, said to me at the early part of that season that this was clearly the biggest challenge they'd ever took on, building the GT version of the Chevy Corvette, because of the fact that they were coming in third place for the first LMPCs. John Field still scored as second in that category, with Jarrett Byrne in third. Stephen Kane trying to make progress in sixth position, third in Prototype 1.
Yeah,
on 14.8 last time around. That's the same sort of time as Hamid Al Masood was doing out there. So that puts that in perspective. The new man in the car and the team, as we've got another spinner. It's the Autocon car. Tony Burgess again at turn number 3 has still not got that car back onto the track. That's where we saw him some time ago. I thought he would have rejoined by now.
The car manufacturers, but as you say there, Dunlop, we've got Michelin's on this car, we've got Falcon and Yokohama in the race as well, so the battle is very much on amongst the tyre manufacturers as it is amongst the teams and car manufacturers.
At the head of the field, it's still Klaus Graf that leads, and all of a sudden the lead is up to 21 seconds over Guy Smith, chasing him down in second place. Stephen Kane made an additional stop recently, we think, just in after maybe 5 or 6 laps after he'd already been in, but he is in fourth position, third in the P1 category, and lapping very nicely in a 1 minute 12.5. The serpentine nature of the circuit here at Mosport elegantly shown by the BMW aerial camera as we look down towards the Moss corners, big crowd down there as ever, listening to us on 90.7 FM. It's John Hindhaugh and Jeremy Shaw for ESPN3.com.
During that round of pit stops, and I think the number 17 has just come onto pit lane right now to hand over Wolf Henser to Brian Seller. I think that was going to cost them the lead of the race, but all of these GT leaders making their pit stops here between about an hour and a minute or two to go to the end of the race. I think from here they can all make it to the end without making an extra pit stop, but the LMP leaders, I believe, Klaus Graf and Guy Smith, first and second overall, even though there's 20 seconds between those two, I believe they're both going to have to make one more pit stop.
I wonder if they splashed Stephen Kane at just under the hour at where they think they can go from. And
I don't think they can do an hour in that car, not quite at least. I think they're going to fall a little bit short in any case. Not quite sure why that car came in, but Stephen Kane certainly is turning into very quick Porsches. There he is coming under the start-finish line right now as well. So 3 cars within about 3 seconds.
Unbelievable stuff. You mentioned the little tap of the brakes there, Jeremy. That wasn't what people would call brake testing or trying to back the car up. What was Spencer Pumpelly doing there?
Just making sure that there was no... He'd been over the curbs at Moss Corner there, so the car kind of jumped in the air, and often the brakes, the pads will get, the calipers will get knocked away from the pads there. So he'll be just tapping the brakes there to make sure he's got that pressure in, so the caliper makes good contact with the rotors going into turn 8, which you really do need the brakes at the top of the hill there. So that's what that was all about. And
it's from Guy Smith in second place. Gunnar Jeanette is still the best of the LMPC cars in third, but now just 6.7 seconds ahead. In fact, he will have lost that now because he's come in to the pit lane, and Guy Smith has been into the pit lane too for a little splash. So that is the BMW aerial cam, really showing us beautifully the circuit. 2.5 miles, and the leader's in the pit lane. The leader has come into the pit lane.
And I think just covering the Dyson car here.
Right.
I don't think you need to make a pit stop quite yet, but if there was a full course caution, the pits are closed, then that would disadvantage the race leader Klaus Graf. So a smart strategy move there by the Muscle Milk team. And Greg Pickett, the team owner, not here this weekend. Business commitments keeping him away. But again, that car's now been on the pit lane, so everybody now on an even keel. So that we're just now this season we're highlighting
top performances from the SCCA. In the June sprint at Road America, Chip Van Verst showed a true fighting spirit. He lost a motor, rolled his Spec Miata into a gravel trap, and had to start last in a 45-car field. Guess what? He got by 41 cars, finished 4th, exhibiting a true never-say-die spirit and earning the honour of an SCCA Star Performer. Well done, Chip. Star performers are plenty out here today, and back with more reaction from Mosport and round 4 of the American Le Mans.